Well, the chaos in Egypt has also sparked demonstrations right here in the valley. Earlier today, dozens of Egyptian Americans gathered in the streets of downtown as a sign of support for friends and relatives who they say are just fighting for their basic rights. And we're learning new information about the woman caught on tape falling into a mall fountain while texting. Kathy Cruz-Marrero said she was considering legal action over the incident, but it now turns out she has some legal problems of her own. I love when you say that, when you or Brian Schofield or any meteorologist says that we're going to stick around in the mid-70s. I absolutely love this weather.
Yeah, we're hitting our comfort zone. We're hitting our stride.
We sure are. Thank you so much, Christian. Well, pilots say any landing you walk away from is a good one, but a flight instructor and a student learning to fly a helicopter can now say the same thing about a takeoff. Action News reporter Drew Caritas explains how some quick thinking may have prevented a tragedy at the North Las Vegas airport. A major highway reopens after a brush fire forces a temporary shutdown. Now, many travelers are returning home to Las Vegas tonight, and the question a lot of us are asking, was it as bad as everyone said it would be, especially at the airports? It's 6:37, 72 degrees outside. It is going to get pretty hot out there, so if you're going to do some errands, do them pretty early because we are going to reach triple digits. Well, if you were wondering just how effective mammograms are in detecting breast cancer, hearings continue in California in the death investigation of Michael Jackson. Today, Dr. Conrad Murray's former girlfriend took the stand. Ashley DiMartino, who's live in St. George, where the Virgin River has been steadily rising. And Ashley, there's now concern that it could be flooding nearby communities. Is that correct? The tax cut deal President Obama negotiated with congressional Republicans is headed to the White House for signature. Conference play is now underway for the Runnin' Rebels, and the season is off to a pretty rough start for UNLV. Hey there, good morning, Lisa. Well, NHP is telling us that a total of 3 cars were involved in this crash. Right behind me, one of the 2 that rolled over. We do know that one person was ejected from one of the vehicles. That victim, along with a second person, were taken to the hospital with unknown injuries. We're also told that one female did run away from the scene. The cause of the wreck is still under investigation, but as we mentioned earlier today, people are being rerouted. If you have to take the I-15 south, you can take either Las Vegas Boulevard South or Dean Martin and get back on the I-15 at Silverado Ranch. We will have much more information for you coming up at the 6 o'clock hour. The jury finally decided to convict the couple on manslaughter charges for the death of their 4-year-old disabled son back in 2008. Interestingly enough, Stan Reimer was also found guilty on the 6 remaining charges of child abuse and neglect in regards to their other 4 children. Now, as far as Colleen Reimer, well, she was found guilty on 3 of the 6 remaining charges of abuse and neglect as well. Now, despite the defense arguing that the couple is not at flight risk, the judge decided to suspend their bail and took them into custody after the verdict was read. Certainly a rough way, Steve, to start the holiday weekend. Officials are warning people to please drive carefully and slow down when hitting the roads this weekend. Reporting live from the DI Arterial, Annette Arriola, Channel 13 Action News. Trisha, good afternoon. We're a couple hundred feet away from the crash site. I'm going to go ahead and step away so folks at home can get a better look at what's going on right now. The airplane has been removed. Now, the aircraft left Palm Springs this morning and the accident happened right before noon, but investigators are still on scene right here trying to determine why this plane went down. After crashing into a dirt ditch next to Highway 159, the small aircraft was found all in one piece for the most part. After receiving the first call from dispatch, officials initially believed the plane inbound to North Las Vegas Airport was lost.
The information was a little vague at that time, and we started to build information over the next couple of minutes, and it was determined that it wasn't a lost aircraft, it was a downed aircraft.
A man and a woman, both in their mid-60s, were inside the 1948 Beechcraft 225. The man reported in critical condition. The Blue Diamond Volunteer Fire Department was first on scene helping the victims, who were then taken to UMC.
The male pilot, according to the first captain on scene, had some facial injuries and some chest injuries, and the female passenger seemed to be doing quite well, but I don't have any information as to the nature of her injuries.
The plane apparently lost engine power, and that's when the pilot attempted to make an emergency landing but fell a few feet short from the road. Onlookers couldn't help but gaze at the scene.
Seems like the plane should have been heading one way or the other, not it came in kind of sideways there, I don't know.
Still no word on what caused the engine to fail, but officials say the plane is registered to a Las Vegas resident. And the scene has been turned over to Metro. Now, we are also told that the FAA and the NTSA have been notified of this incident. They, of course, will be conducting their own investigations into this accident. For now, reporting live from Blue Diamond and Highway 159, Annette Arriola, Channel 13 Action News. It was the victim's very first job as a cab driver. Now, police obtained those pictures that we just saw a few moments ago from the surveillance camera that was installed inside the victim's vehicle. We're talking about a very small device that was implemented just a few years ago to protect drivers from these violent crimes.
It was a deadly ambush and a tragic reminder of the many dangers cab drivers face while performing their job.
A hard-working guy. He's working a graveyard shift, just trying to make a living. And, you know, it's just a senseless act of violence. It hasn't happened in a long time.
It's been 7 years since a local taxi driver was killed on his shift, and it was that murder what led cab companies to install cameras inside all vehicles circulating throughout the valley, a move that could now play a key role in catching those responsible for today's homicide.
Aside from the surveillance cameras, taxi cabs are also equipped with other items, including a distress signal that may alert folks that something may be going terribly wrong inside the cab.
But despite this latest slaying, officials say crime against cab drivers has actually dropped, and they attribute it to technology and training.
They have a full 8 hours of very extensive training that they go through. Safety is a huge component of that.
The Taxi Cab Authority advises drivers to hide their cash in trip sheets so passengers won't know how many fares they've collected. But the most important safety tip is that nothing is worth your life.
You know, give them what they're asking for if at all possible.
And most cab drivers do have a safety code that they can call into dispatch to let them know if they're in some sort of danger. They also have to take a refresher course after a year on the job. But industry officials do tell us that what's really helped prevent more robberies and homicides against cab drivers are those cameras. Reporting live near Valley View and Tropicana, Annette Arriola, Channel 13 Action News. We had the chance to speak with Olga Perez last night, just hours before going into the OR this morning. She told us she thought about all the possible complications, but in the end, she knew this was the only way she could get her life back.
Olga Perez is 31 years old and fighting to survive.
And he said we have to do MRIs and CAT scans, and that's how they found the tumor.
She can barely walk as the tumor sits on her sacrum, or more commonly known as the tailbone. A wife and mother of 3, one with special needs, Olga was devastated twice. Once by the diagnosis, and then after being told there wasn't much doctors could do for her.
They started with radiations because there was no surgeon here in town.
After working and living under excruciating pain for almost a year now, her prayers were finally answered.
I wanted to hug him. You know, I was like, thank you. Finally, I found someone.
Dr. Yevgeny Kafkin, a neurosurgeon from Chicago, moved to the valley this past spring. After meeting with Olga, it was decided she would have a total sacrectomy, removing the entire tailbone with a tumor on it.
We essentially disconnect the spine from the pelvis, so there wouldn't be any connection between the spine and the pelvis. Then obviously we have to put this back together. We have to reconstruct that. And the way we do this is by putting these titanium screws and rods.
This morning, Olga checked into the hospital as a team of surgeons prepared for this complex 8-hour surgery, a procedure full of potential complications given the vital organs that surround the tumor.
One of the big risks is that we might have to sacrifice some of the nerve roots in order to get the whole tumor out.
And as for Olga, she says she has stopped asking, why me?
God gives this test to strong people. I know I'm strong.
Before Dr. Kafkin moved to Vegas, patients requiring this type of procedure would have to travel to San Francisco to be treated. Now, doctors tell us nerve damage could leave Olga with some weakness in her legs, but if all goes well, she should be able to walk, of course, undergoing some therapy.
Well, the question, how many surgeons actually perform this kind of surgery throughout the nation?
Well, Tricia, interestingly enough, it's about a dozen surgeons, wow. Dr. Kafkin among them. We made some calls right now, and Olga is still in surgery.
You'll let us know how she comes
Absolutely,
through.
we'll be following up on this.
Okay, Annette, thank you very much.
Hey there, Steve. Well, certainly some terrifying moments for this couple. Police say that the wife actually ran into the bedroom, hid in the closet, fearing for her life. Now, Metro believes that these 3 men were probably under the impression that no one was home, but turns out that they were completely wrong.
You start hearing helicopters, the police are coming, the dogs are here, canine thing. It just became.
Neighbors were left practically speechless after witnessing a crime scene unfold just feet away from their own homes. Officers got the call around 10:30 this morning regarding a break-in where the suspect's method of operation was straight into the point.
They knocked very aggressively, kept consistently ringing the doorbell.
The homeowner refused to open the door, so the burglars kicked it open.
When he confronts them, verbally warns them, they continue to enter the home. At that time, he's fearing for his safety and the safety of the lady.
The homeowner was already armed, and after repeated warnings, he fired a single shot, striking one of the men in the leg. Police say he did the right thing, and so do neighbors like Iliana Agundes, who's had to install bars on her windows after her home was broken into last year.
It's really shocking. It's really scary. I think I don't know what we need to do, but I know it's happening a lot now.
Brenda, who lives just doors away from where the break-in happened this morning, says she too caught someone trying to pry her garage door open just last night. Will you be doing anything different from now on to protect yourself?
Yes, I will. Yeah, I think I'm going to get a gun.
And that wounded suspect is at UMC recovering now. The other two suspects did take off. Police don't have much of a description other than they are two males in their 20s, African Americans. Metro says that they don't consider this neighborhood to be a very high crime area, but they have seen some burglaries. They do tell us that they will be stepping up patrol and that they are asking folks to call them if they do see anything unusual or out of the ordinary. For now, reporting live near Sahara and Hollywood, Annette Arriola, Channel 13 Action News.